was new to them. This became quite controversial in Liverpool because, you know, they're regarded with a bit of suspicion. You know, why are they following us around so much? So interviewees have spoken to me about how in the political climate, the racial political climate of the late 1950s in Liverpool, because, you know, there were, when two young male teenagers appeared in the club, a lot of the local residents who were regulars at that club might have felt a bit threatened, you know. But they did actually become friends. So Lord Woodbine in the 1970s, someone told me, the person who told me about this was the late Steve Aldo, who was born Edward Bedford. Again, sadly, he's no longer with us, but he did sing me down the phone his recollection of a calypso by Lord Woodbine. And it's the calypso about, this is why I need my notes, about the parrot. The parrot hears something he shouldn't and starts telling the person's wife. Woodbine created a variation on this to do with local politics in Liverpool at the time. So again, it's a kind of motif, isn't it? Taking an existing basic story, but then updating the events, making them local, making them contemporary. Everyone always emphasised to me how quick-witted Woodbine was. And he seems to have been, as I say, he doesn't seem to have sought fame or recognition, but I just feel that his story has a lesson for us today. You know, as I say about my position as a white author who was a complete outsider to the actual events that I'm writing, about. I could actually have completed my PhD and just not found out about this, you know, because there was so little existing material. Now, that's partly, I think, it may have been to do with, well, why didn't I, at the very start of the research, think, okay, I'll research black perspectives on the Beatles? You know, this thing of unconscious biases that people might have because of the way the dominant stories get told, and this of course manifests in all kinds of ways of everyday life. So it felt like, I don't know, in one sense it was because it had been so rarely documented before, but I just thought the fact that this isn't more widely known, that tells us something that, 3 minutes, yeah, that we need, yeah, okay. But just lastly, this image of Dr. Eric Williams, Prime Minister of Trinidad. I think that image comes from around March 1966, John Lennon and Ringo Starr. I'm not sure who the gentleman in the middle is. I think the young woman on the left is Eric, is that Eric Williams' daughter? Yeah. Okay. So John Lennon, it's interesting that the Beatles refused to be photographed with politicians because there was an unfortunate occasion where they accidentally got photographed with Jeffrey Archer in 1963, after which they said, we are not going to allow anyone to photograph us near politicians. But it's interesting that Lennon made an exception for Dr. Eric Williams. Again though, this meeting is actually quite difficult to research because unlike other things that the Beatles were doing in February 1966, it just isn't mentioned. And I think that there is this kind of blinkeredness that certainly researchers of the Beatles need to be careful of, including myself. I'll stop there, but if anyone wants to ask a question...
Before you depart though, I'm sure I've come across the fact that the Beatles, in their very early days, people talk about them we call the Silver Beatles, spelled double E. But they were known as Woodbine's Boys, weren't they? That was a more popular name.
I've certainly heard that they're referred to as Woodbine's Boys. I wasn't aware that that was used as a stage name. I could be wrong, but I wasn't aware of that. But more as a kind of affectionate thing, in the same way that we might say, you know, friends of.
Well, thank you. Dr. James McGrath, thank you very much. Thank you.